Welcome back, beautiful people, to another episode of the BambooSZN Podcast, the podcast where you will hear inspiring stories from myself and my guests about transformation and growth. Stories of people who have hit rock bottom, didn't give up on themselves, watered and cultivated with with actionable steps. So keep it. Yeah, we keeping it raw. Anyways, it is also Black History Month. Woo woo. So all month I'm having guests, Black people who are doing great, amazing things, entrepreneurs, business owners, and overall just uplifting others. This podcast is also sponsored by Dorian Wormsley Wellness, a coaching business to help you build a strong body and clear mind through sobriety and fitness. My guest today is a sacred sexologist. No idea what that is. We're going to learn today. She is also the unapologetic force behind public karma events. I don't know much. I'm interested to ask her and see more, but it seems very needed in the community of the world. I bring you Portia Newton.
Hi.
Oh, you shy?
Yeah, a little bit.
You nervous?
No. I'm okay.
All right. Just making sure.
All
How you
right.
doing, Portia?
I'm doing well.
Now, I came across you because you hold events at one of my favorite plant shops.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Rooting for You, plant shop here in Las Vegas. They always hook your boy up with some of the best plants, and they also have a content creation space where you can host events. But the amazing Tiffany is aware of my podcast and everything, and she knew the gist of it, the theme of kind of people I want, and she brought you up. Like, hey, there's this woman at my job who does these events to help women and all these things, and I was like, okay, let me look at her Instagram. I looked at her Instagram, reached out, you reached right back out to me, and we're like, yeah, I definitely want to come on. So thank you for making the time and be willing to come on here and share a bit of your story and share what you do. Now, let's hop into the first part. Sacred sexologist.
Yes.
Let's break that down, and let's break down what it is you do to help women exactly.
Perfect. So I call myself a sacred sexologist because I do not follow the traditional route of sexology. So there's clinical, which I call clinical, which is more of a physical aspect. But to me, as my past and all the things, I wanted to bring in the energy of it. So it is like the modern, the characteristics, the behavior, all of that good stuff. Excuse me. But it's also more than that. It's taking sex on a sensual level, understanding its mind, body, and spirit, not just, this physical thing where we just plug in. There's a consciousness. There's a side to it that's a little bit deeper than what's been taught to us. So I integrate all of that into what I do.
And at these events that you have, like at Rooting for You, what do they entail? What kind of events are they? What goes on there?
So I have 4 events, and they're broken down into we do mindset, and then we do more of the sensual stuff. It's very graceful. We don't get too crazy. Those are what the retreats are for. But we do get little doses, and my whole perspective, or my whole intention, should I say, is to help women understand that their bodies are loved and that they deserve to be in a space where they love themselves so that they can see a new perspective and start making better choices, habits, and get what they desire, live life by design in the space of being happy and horny.
I'm glad you said that, because also on your Instagram page, it says something along the lines of you helping women live happier and hornier lives.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And the reason I would have the reactions, because it's like you're saying things that are not happening.
Right.
You're saying and using words of things that are everyday adult human over the age of, I don't know, whenever you hit puberty, is experiencing.
Right.
But for whatever reason, the world, oh my God, you said horny.
Yeah.
Of all words, somebody's going to hear this today and be like, oh my God, I'm going to make sure I share the clip too. Oh my God, horny? What? Like, how do you think you got here?
Exactly.
How do you think you maintain your relationship with your spouse?
Exactly.
What is your take on that? Like, what makes you want to make sure, use that word, or even help women with that?
Oh, wow. I think it a lot comes down to my own, learning how to heal from my worthiness wound, and to just let everyone or anybody who comes into my sphere feel love that they've never quite understood or had before. A lot of us are what I call sensually depleted, and we don't realize that our sensuality is part of who we are in a creative essence, right? We've been shamed, we've been told these things about our bodies that are just not true, to continue the insecurity, to continue all those things. And so I'm bringing it back to self, and I'm also allowing people to come into a space where they can enjoy their kinkiness, or see that there's a deeper side to their sensuality, or find out why they don't feel a certain kind of way without the shame, without the frustration, without the judgment, you know? And
Yeah.
so providing a space like that to me, I just feel like is healing. And, you know, that's what I want to do.
And where did this come from?
Mm.
That's what we got to get into. Because it ain't like you just woke up.
I just woke up one day.
Yeah, you were working at, I don't know where, Geek Squad, IT Tech. And we're like, you know what? I'm done with the suit and tie.
I'm going to go talk about vagina.
Talk about sex.
No. 12 years of being a sex worker and stripper. It's all the same to me, but some like to put it into categories. It really, really told me and taught me a lot about how disconnected we are as human beings. It taught me a lot about how a lot of us are just really desiring connection, and how there's a whole, like you said, a whole conversation that's not happening, you know? We look at sex as like this dirty thing, or we look at sex as only for procreation. And it just takes out so much of the element of the wonder that it is. Again, sex is the energy of creation. So when we're not tapped into that space, there's a whole other level of life that we're shutting down. And I don't know about you, but it just lacks luster when you're not when you're not in that space of authenticity, right? And we can't be authentic or even talk about authenticity if we're not talking about sensuality or sex, you know?
So it's stripper sex worker for 12 years.
Yes.
Where did that start?
Oh, okay. We're gonna go there. So
damn right.
I'm happy to go there.
I don't want to know.
Like, how much time do we have?
I don't want to know your favorite color.
So I noticed at the age of 16 that older men liked me.
Where were you at?
I was living in Stockton, California. I was born in Denver, Colorado. My mom moved to Stockton, California when I was 2. 209. Yes, the 209. Northern Cali, to be exact. Northern Stockton. But so 16, I kind of like, I was always ahead of my time. I was the oldest of 5 kids. So I was always kind of like, my mom was a single mom. I was always kind of the adult. I was pretty much like, my mom was more like my sister. She really wasn't my mom. She was more like my sister. She did mom things, but we grew up together. So at 16, I noticed that like older men were attracted to me very young. And the guy who was teaching about sex in schools for Planned Parenthood was actually the first guy to ever get me pregnant at 16, and he was 30.
Your teacher?
Yeah.
Were you in his class?
No. He was just in the vicinity. So you know how they had like the little clinics? I don't know where you went to school, but they would have like little clinics where the nurse clinic or the girls who were, you know, getting ready to have a baby or, you know, get your TB test, that type of stuff. There was also Planned Parenthood, and they would put like, you know, contraceptives and come and teach kids about like contraceptives. It's when health and wellness was like still in school. Yeah. And so, yeah.
So he was one of the people that came to the school to teach you guys about safe sex and this and that. Right. And you were just a student there.
Yes.
And he just saw you like, hey, what's your name?
I can't quite remember how we started having a conversation.
But it was like a consensual thing.
Yeah, I was 16.
I mean, I know that, but I'm just making sure that like...
Yeah. No, it wasn't like rape or anything like that. I just knew like, you know, he thought I was cute and older guys have things, you know, so... You know, I've always been an entrepreneur at spirit, should I say. They want to sell Girl Scout cookies. No, I'm kidding. But so it started there. And then we split because I found out that he was married. Oh. His wife came and approached me, and she didn't realize I was just a child. And it was a long conversation. And so, yeah, that was...
It's not funny, but a long conversation with a 16-year-old.
Yeah, it was a long conversation. And she was... almost, I would say about 2 months away from having her firstborn.
So you guys are both pregnant?
She was full pregnant, yeah.
But you were too?
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So I ended up terminating that child. It was like about 6-7 weeks. I don't really remember. And so I went on. I was valedictorian in my school, graduated high school. I was a cheerleader my whole life. I was, you know, kind of a nerd. All the cool stuff, anime and things that are cool now, or that's kind of my flair. They were like nerdy back then. But at 17, I decided, because my mom was a single mom, that I didn't want my mom to work as hard anymore. My mom worked really hard to provide for us. And I just was like, okay, I will sacrifice myself for the family. And so at 17, I took a ID. That was one of my girlfriends who were older than me. She kind of same skin color as you and freckles. So I don't know how they passed that. But 17, I walked into a little tiny pink club that said hundreds of beautiful girls and 3 ugly ones. Deja Vu.
In Vegas?
And that's, no, in Stockton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a little hut. It's
Yeah.
still there to this day. I actually
wow.
went down there for my Thea's funeral and it was still standing. I'm like, out of all the things, it's still standing. Yeah, so I started working there and like I said, I've always just had an entrepreneur spirit. I figured out how to become a featured entertainer and I went from Stockton to San Francisco to New York to Vegas to, Chicago. I mean, I went everywhere, almost to Africa, but
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's it? Oh, okay. Wow.
That's how that kicked off, yeah.
And you were in it for 12 years.
Yes.
Is that what brought you to Vegas?
The first time, I actually lived here 11 years ago. So yes, the first time my mom moved here first.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, cool. Then I'll come out here and I worked at Rhino, worked at Sapphire, worked at Crazy Horse 3 when they first opened.
Oh, wow.
My aunt used to work at the original Crazy Horse. So it's a long lineage of women.
Family affair.
Yeah. So I say epigenetics. If you ever study epigenetics, it's very powerful stuff because stuff lives in your DNA and I come from a long line of
Really?
workers. My mom was a dancer.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that. I've heard.
That's how she met my dad.
So, you need a Tyler Perry movie.
I do.
Yeah.
I could go deeper into that, but that's hilarious.
It's even though it's your story, whatever. I've heard something similar before. And
Right.
I'm glad. Thank you for sharing this. 'Cause it's not easy. Well, it might be easier for you now, but
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean. There's some shit you had to work through, and
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
hoping there's a listener out there who knows somebody or is that person
Yeah.
who's been through this and they understand they're not alone. That's why I do have this podcast. I have guests like you talk about these
Yes.
things because in the world of all the stuff that goes on, a lot of people feel alone. They
Yeah.
feel like what they're going through, they're the only one.
So true.
And it's not the case. It's too many people in the world to somebody not go through the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not verbatim, like right, same exact, but very close.
Right.
And they need to feel inspired.
Yeah.
They need to see you now glowing and doing what you're doing to see like, I can get out of this shit.
Absolutely.
That was just a part of my journey. That's not where I have to be. Because, man, I swear I was talking to one of my clients recently. There's just always so much negativity on social media.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much stuff going on. Politics, fires, this, that. And it's like you just scroll and it's just like, we wonder why we're so sad and depressed because we're so scrolling. We're just seeing negativity. And I'm just like, bro, I get frustrated sometimes when I'm on there like, oh, somebody have a baby or something.
Get
like,
married. Something.
yeah, like just something positive.
Yeah.
Because the stuff in the world is always going to happen. We can't control that. We can control what we share and what we see.
Right.
And it's just like, sometimes I wonder when people decide to share some negative stuff, I'm like, what are you trying to make people feel with that? We know there's fires. We know the election stuff's happening. We know all these things.
Yeah.
Teach his own. They can do what they want. But back to you. You said we can dive more into what?
So it was funny. I was just talking to my son's girlfriend, and she asked me, she's talking about my laugh. It's very distinctive. And I get it from my dad. And I remember walking into Denver. God bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you again.
All right, thank you. I'm only two. That's it. Only two.
So I remember walking into Denver. It was my home club, which means it's the club that I felt the most comfortable. I had amazing management there. They loved me. Made a lot of money for that club. Shout out to Diamond Cabaret in Denver, Colorado. But I remember going into the office and the manager's like signing my paperwork and we're laughing and we're just having a good conversation and he's like showing me the stuff. And I start laughing and he like pauses and he goes, "Are you Roy's daughter?"
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Wait, how do you know my dad?" Because my dad has the same chuckle. Like it's a very distinctive fingerprint there. And he's like, "Oh, your dad has been a member here for 20 years. And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." So there was a point in time in my time where my mom was the house mom upstairs and my dad, I would see sneak to the back of the steakhouse because we had a steakhouse attached to it. He would sneak to the back of the VIP member only section and he'd just wave at me or he'd give me a hug and say, "I love you." And then he'd go. And that's like the most I ever saw my dad because my dad was never really a part of my life.
That was my next question. So the most your dad was in your life
Yeah.
was when you were dancing
And I would see him.
and he was there for entertainment.
Yeah.
And while he's there, he'd go around the back, say, "Hey, baby, have a good day."
I love you. I'm so proud of you.
And then leave.
Yeah.
Oh.
Some of my girls that I would see in the locker room were his, regular. That was his regular. They were regular,
Would there ever be like a girl like, "Girl, your daddy out here tripping? Like, he ain't tipping?"
My
or...
dad's very, it's funny because Bruce Lee, you have a picture of Bruce Lee as his favorite person. My dad was a ninja and into karate and all the
wow.
things as a kid. he looks amazing. He just does CrossFit. He's got abs. He's like 60 something. He just looks really young. So the only thing I ever really heard about my dad is that he's good looking and he's a gentleman, which he should be. And I still love my dad.
That's good. And how's your relationship with him now?
We don't talk. I think my dad has he treated my mom very unfairly.
Okay.
So I think when he sees me, he sees my mom. We've lived in the same high-rise like building together, and he lived on like the 14th floor, and I lived on the 7th, and I couldn't get him to come down and have dinner.
Oh man.
So I love him. I know that he's just navigating life, and I've done a lot of healing around the masculine. I have 2 boys, so
yeah.
I knew that was going to be something that I had to really dive into because it was going to affect my relationships with my kids.
How old are your boys?
20 on the 21st, 22nd. Sorry, Reggie. He will be next Saturday. I will have a 20-year-old, 222, and then a 16-year-old, and then my 6-year-old.
Okay, all boys.
1 girl.
Oh, 1 girl. The last one's a girl.
Yes.
Ah, she got 2 brothers to look after. That's great.
Yes. Right on time.
And do you ever feel like you want to? Maybe you have already, but like mend that relationship with him. Because I know it seems like it's more, he's kind of not ready, but you might be. Do you try, or do you have thought about trying still, like to get him to come around? Absolutely.
My grandmother follows me, and my dad follows me. He knows where I am, and he knows that I will always love him. I send him something for his birthday. He's April Fool's Day.
Wow. My dad's birthday's in April too.
Yeah. My grandpa too is April 1st, which I said, again, epigenetics are wild because, like, again, the same traces, the same habits, the same
You're
flow.
like a Blacklist movie.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
One of those movies, sci-fi, like what's all this stuff? All these coincidences.
There's a lot going on. So I always let him know. I say, hey, Dad, I love you. And I just want you to know that I love you. And my door is always open. And he'll say, I love you too, Portia. And then he'll just leave it at that. And I'm okay with that. I've made peace with that. I don't hate my dad. I love my dad. I think that the most powerful thing he could have ever done was leave. And sometimes we look at it as like, oh, he's selfish, or, you know, why would they leave somebody? But my dad was abusive. And if I would have grown up in that household, I don't know who I would have been watching my mom go through what she was going through, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah. You were in the industry for 12 years in Denver, Vegas, all these things. Mm-hmm. At what point did you decide, I'm getting out of this, I want more, I want, what happened? So
I always tell the story about, I use the interchanging words of God, universe, source. It's all the same to me. But I would just remember one night I was this club I used to work at called the Bourbon Street Circus in Arizona. Shout out to Bob. And
Did you work at Jaguars?
I love that club.
Did you work at Jaguars?
No, I worked at Bourbon Street Circus. Was the only club I ever worked at. It was a money pit. It's like a tradition for golf players and celebrities. Really? It's been there forever. It's the most the darkest club you'll ever be in, but it's like the biggest hole in the wall ever. Oh wow! It's just known for, incredibly beautiful women. Like, I've never seen a roster like that. That was even in Vegas, like, just beautiful women. And I remember walking in that club and him saying, he's kind of looking at me. I read the reviews. They don't hire black women because black women in the industry is really hard. It's tough being a black woman in the industry. And I said, I'm going straight to that club. I'm gonna get hired. I don't care. So I went and I got hired. And so I remember I worked there for some time. I was the only black girl. There's 2 other black girls, but we were like the only ones for like 4 years. And I'd been there, and it was like during Super Bowl time, and I was like really excited that we were doing Super Bowl. So I get on stage, and they have this mirrored wall and a pole, and I was never a pole girl. So I would just like walk around the pole, and I would go right at the floor because I was just like unstable. I was kind of a clumsy stripper. So like, and there was like this giant hole on the stage. So if you walked, you would be right on the floor. So I was like, all right, hi, shake, shake, shake. Let's go to the floor. And I had to think about eye contact. That's how I would kind of like pick my victim. So I'm kidding. But look in the eye, straight to the VIP room. But I was twirling around, and I just looked at myself for the first time ever. And I was like, I've been in this mirror so many times. I could literally, just in the dark, because it's literally like you can't even see your own hand. It's really a dark club. Been here so many times, and I just looked at myself, and that was the first time I really had seen myself over the years, like fully seen myself. And it was like a voice that came, and I know it sounds insane, but a voice came to me and it said, why are you here? And I had never heard it. Like shook my whole spirit, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I always told myself, if I'm not having fun or become an addict, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Because my parents knew where I was, so I wasn't really into drugs. I had my first baby at 18. I didn't have time to be in the party scene or do too much. I got my money and got the hell out of there. But it like shook my spirit. So the next day I was supposed to be in Denver, and I pull up my Rubicon and I park in the same place that I always park, say hi to the same people that I always say hi to, and I couldn't go inside. And so I was like, I just got in my car and went back home and sat on the couch for 2 weeks watching Bob's Burgers and trying to figure out who I was outside of Angelina. That was my stage name.
Angelina.
And I was just so confused. I'm like, whoa, where am I? But I never went back.
What'd you figure out in those 2 weeks?
I figured out that it was interesting because at the time my man had just came into my life, and we were both fighting a lot of shit together, like a lot. And I figured out that, I wanted to do something with myself, but I didn't really know what that was. And so I got really involved in the makeup communities when YouTube makeup was like a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started getting into that, and I started to see that like women just needed a space to talk. And I was like, I don't really even like doing makeup. This is just like something to do. And that's when I kicked off the Fire Tribe in 2016, and I started to talk about different things. And I was like, well, a lot of women don't know about sex, and they just follow.
What was it called? The Fire Drive?
The Fire Tribe.
Fire Tribe.
Yes.
What is that exactly?
So it was an online community on Facebook. I had 5,000 members.
Wow.
And we would talk about, everything. And I wanted it to, because the makeup community was so nasty. It was like a bunch of girls who just like mean girls, like, So I was like, this is like being in the club. I don't want any part of this. Like I've had enough years in that. So let me see if I can create a positive space. And I just knew so much for being in the industry for so long. I was like, And I had played with a little tantra. I had played in the fields of massage parlors and things like that for a while. So I kind of knew some things that, the girls were interested in. And I was like, okay. And so I decided to go from there. And I went to, the Sexology School of Integration and just kept going, started learning all kinds of things, and turned into a business, turned into a store first, and then it turned into me full-time being the pussy coach. That's what they called me. Okay, I didn't self-proclaim that. My girls call me the pussy coach.
Who called you the pussy coach?
That's what my girls call me. They get me sweatshirts. I have sweatshirts that literally like that's my pussy coach, or they call me the pussy exorcist is the funniest one.
Okay.
And it's just because, like, again, it's a spiritual thing for me, and I help women, really connect in a way that is very different than what most people would, there's just like you said, there's a lot of conversation around sex, but it's really from a standpoint of being very physical. And so I help them to understand it on a spiritual and a more loving and a more connecting, and it's a different energy for me,
Do you ever miss that life?
Oh, do I miss that life? That's a really deep question. No, I think I have no regrets. I've had the most amazing clients. I've had the most amazing time. I had great management. I was, did get into trafficking and did get trafficked and those things. Those are some darker moments. But quite frankly, no. I think I was there to do what I was supposed to do. I was there to do what I was supposed to learn, or learn what I was supposed to learn. But the money's definitely, I was making $350 a year as a dancer. And so it was a little bit easier. It wasn't like I had to learn anything or show up in this profound energy, but no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to go back. Once you like open your eyes to like the veils, or you can see the trauma, like it's really hard to, I haven't even visited one. So
good for you.
Yeah.
I haven't either.
I would. I would go, but
throughout my life, I've never been a huge strip club person. Maybe when I was younger, I went randomly if we're all out drunk, and my friends were like, oh, let's go here after. That's why I say if you went to Jaguars, because whenever I visited Phoenix, Jaguars. That was the one my friends always wanted to go to. Yeah. And it was big or whatever. And
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And but yeah, even here in Vegas, I never really went to them too often.
Yeah, I would be too busy trying to coach people.
Wow, what a journey. And it's great that you got out of it and you were able to find. It's almost like, how's the saying go? It's a saying that says, don't change the hustle, change the, I forgot what he said. For example, like a woman in that industry knows how to get money.
Right.
She knows how to, talk and this and that. Right. Keep that same hustle of doing it, but just change the job description.
Right.
Instead of doing it in the industry of entertainment, take it to real estate or take it to what you're doing, retreats and all that. So I think it's great that you did that. So women who are in there can find a way out. Yeah. Because I know throughout my life living here in Vegas, you meet girls who are in the industry all the time, and time goes on, they still in it. And the reason is, like you said earlier, who am I outside of this? They don't even know.
No. It's
They've
an
been in it
identity
so
shift.
long to where it's like they can't see themselves sending in a resume somewhere
No.
and going working Amazon or going working a desk job,
Yeah.
especially with the money.
Yeah. It becomes an addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're used to making
X amount of money
crazy.
in minutes, your
Yeah.
whole rent in minutes compared to 40 hours, almost
Yeah.
paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, and if you were really good, you would make it was ridiculous. I mean, imagine being the only chocolate in clubs at times, and they used to call me Salt Lake City because Mormon men loved me. I don't know.
Mormon men loved you.
Yeah, because of the religion is they're taught that, brown people are a curse of Cain and we're not.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I don't know much
Yeah.
about religion, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to make religious podcast
Yeah.
canceled. I got some cool Mormon friends. They're,
Yeah, my man used to be Mormon.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
don't want them to come after me.
Yeah,
'Cause
no, I
boy,
love them. I love them to death. But I do get a lot. I used to get a lot of Mormon clients. That's, Utah men, should we call them?
Oh.
Yeah.
And so now with your business as you do, you have
Yes.
your retreats,
Mhm.
you have your events that you do,
Mhm.
and you, like you mentioned earlier, almost all ties in together. Like
Yes.
the events are more like a smaller version, and the
Yes.
retreats kind of where we
4 days.
unleash
Yeah.
and kind of
Go real deep.
yeah.
Yeah.
What type of women are these events for? What kind of women would listen to this and be like, oh, that's the event I need to go to?
So I always like to say that our events are very open to all because, all is included. But I really go after, or should I say my intention is for the woman who's been through a lot of things and she's trying to just get her footing, I went from being a stripper, all the things, and moving to Utah and feeling like, holy moly,
Why'd you move to Utah?
because my man's from Utah.
Oh, that's right. You
yeah.
said that. Okay.
Yeah. He's from Utah.
Were you converting?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking.
I don't think they would have me. Oh yeah, no. I love them, but no. So I had all this shame. I had all these things I was trying to fight through an identity. And until I did the actual work, was I able to actually find peace in what my life had become. Because again, when you go from all of that money, you go from all of that lifestyle, it's really hard to feel like any kind of fulfillment in just the everyday things that are expected as a mom, as a wife, as a whatever, So I think that the woman for me is typically the woman who may have come from this life door. Maybe she was a webcam girl and maybe she can't, go to her husband, and maybe she hasn't even told her husband. I know a lot of girls who don't, I see him and I'm like, oh, he doesn't know. Ooh. Cause they're ashamed. There's so much shame. Or, maybe she married one of her clients, maybe, whatever the case may be, or maybe she has a wild molestation story or incest story. I want just the women who have been through stuff and they're trying to make something of themselves, or they're just trying to be okay. They've got the family, they're doing the things, and they're just like, this is so much different. This is so much stress. I have all this like trauma from this, and, I want to set myself free. And so it's really about the woman who's really just trying to make it every single day. And it's not, it just feels more complicated than others,
Yeah.
should I say? Like I wasn't, meeting my man. He's been to LSU. He's a broker. He does all these amazing, he's, on paperwork, he's what they call a high value man. I can't sound that word, but, but he's so much different than me. Came from a 2-parent household. He was Mormon, and my mom, she was like my sister. I came from total opposite. And so trying to fit those worlds in together was very challenging. I didn't know how to love. I didn't know I was traumatized by men. I didn't know how to accept him as who he was, or even like how to be a mom full time. I'm a homeschool mom, like I was like, how do you run a household? Like, what do you even do here? Or how do I be okay? How do I love myself so that I love my family? Because it really comes from you. A lot of times we're trying to like make sure we, everybody else in our family feels loved. But if you don't feel loved, like what example are you giving to your children? What example are you for your husband? What example are you for your man? Whatever. Maybe you have multiples. I don't know. But the love that comes from yourself, it's so important. It's why I can be bubbly and jolly. And, I love my family. I love them. But it all starts with me, So I really, that's kind of like the lady for me,
I like what you said about how hard it was for him coming from a two-parent background to kind of your upbringing, because throughout my life, maybe up until more recently where I've kind of worked some things out, I would feel intimidated or less than if I ever came across
Absolutely.
a girl who came from like a good family dynamic,
Yeah.
because mine wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad because I don't want my mom to feel like I'm talking shit,
No.
but it's just my dad wasn't around. We
Yeah.
were homeless.
Yeah.
All these things that happened. So like when I met somebody, they got both parents. They probably got sent to college. You know, they do Thanksgiving dinner every year.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
I would either steer away, or if I was around them, I'd keep a wall up.
Yep.
Of like, okay, I'm not gonna let this get more deeper than anything else. Like we're not gonna get too emotionally deep. We're not gonna be together. Gonna keep myself at bay.
Yeah.
Just a simple fact of feeling less than, or just like, I think so crazy in the future. I'm like, man, what if her parents want to invite me over, so ask how my family is? Why don't I go to my family's for Thanksgiving? And I hate when I have to tell the story, or I hate when, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And wow, that's crazy. That's something I probably still have to work on.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I relate to
his
that.
family is still Mormon, you know.
Is he white?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very.
Oh, what's
He's
his name?
like Nordic white.
Don't say his name.
No, I won't.
Well, good for you. How long have you guys been together?
Oh, that's a long time. Been together a long time.
Are any your kids together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 7 collectively.
Excuse me?
He came with 4, I came with 2, and then we had Bentley together.
And Bentley's a baby girl.
Yeah, she's a baby.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
7.
All of our kids are pretty much older. Yeah. So our oldest, my bonus baby, he's 23.
Okay.
And so it goes 23, 18, 23, 20, and 20, 16 and 17, 13, and then Bentley 6.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do all the kids get pretty much together or get along? I mean, I guess they're older, so they don't really have to be around each other as much.
Yeah, I mean, they know that I exist. They know that I love them. Their mom is very apprehensive, and I understand. She has every right to be apprehensive. Their dad wasn't really honest with them because he had a lot of his own. He's got perfectionist issues, should I say? And like I said, I don't hide a lot of myself because it is part of my story.
Yeah.
I've gotten past the shame. I've gotten past the picture perfect idea of what it should look like, and that's why I always talk to women about like living a life that's designed for them and not what the world wants you to live. So I don't hide myself. I'm very authentic in my expression. So I know they love me, they watch me, they learn from me, and it is what it is. I mean, when you're Mormon, you know, it's different. You're watching this woman, you know, sage her yoni. It's a little different.
I don't know, man. Some of those documentaries I see, I don't know. They might be, you know what? Let me chill. I'm not going to get canceled. Please, I'm not in that level.
Yeah, but one thing I do, you know, as I say, like I told you earlier, I went to ministerial school to figure out how to talk to those women and to understand why they are the way that they are. And I would say that 30% of my clients are religious women.
Nice.
You know, I've actually done retreats on the Bible Belt in North Carolina. I went to Oklahoma, did yoni breathing in Oklahoma. Shout out to OKC, one of my favorite places to go.
That's considered Bible Belt?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, me neither. So I got there.
Okay.
The South is a different place, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very different place. And North Carolina was definitely an awakening for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
There was a girl in the audience of the retreat who was a evangelist's daughter. And you know, sometimes I open up with whatever comes to me, and she was very charged by the conversations I was having. And I even got rebuked that time. But I didn't take it personally because I knew that like that's a hard conversation, you know. And as I navigated like religious trauma and things like that, and got trauma informed in that, it was a really deep conversation that a lot of women, even being in Utah, like I lived in Draper, which is like in the hills of Utah, and I would see so many women and even feel the energy there of so many women who just didn't see their body as sacred. They seen their baby as a puppy mill, you know, or they seen themselves where they had no sovereignty over their sexuality. Unfortunately, domestic violence there is really high. People don't know that about Utah. They hide a lot of their secrets. And I get it. Perfectionism is a huge thing there. But giving women the permission to say, hey, this is my body and I want to be able to explore it. I mean, God didn't make all this pleasure for no reason. Ooh. And so it's just, it was a beautiful place to be. And I think it taught me a lot about like the other side of, you know, what women experience when they are religious, you know, in that form of Christianity, should I say.
Wow. Well, shout out to you for going and doing work to reach another area of women who are unsure.
Oh yeah.
Because like you just said, touched on a few points ago, was because with certain religions or certain upbringings, talking about sex or whatever is like, we don't do that until marriage, or, you know, whatever. You can't be, and it's not even close to the world we live in.
No.
You can go.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous because I would have young girls. I would have a house full of wonderful Utah children, and they would talk. My kids, of course, my kids are so proud of me. They're like, my mom, you know, she talks about stuff that people don't usually talk about, you know? So I tell the girls, like, hey, if you guys had anything like you want to share with your parents, like you don't know how to share with your parents. And I remember one of the girls asking me, because apparently, you know, vaginal sex is a no, but anal sex is a yes. And I said, honey, that is not where you want to start. Okay? That's not, no.
Don't
but I mean, there would be kids that didn't know. I have a friend who does IVF there, and they didn't know like the vagina wasn't the belly button hole. Like those are very dangerous waters to navigate, because then you have girls or boys that are taking advantage of because they don't know any better. Also very, very keen. Religion, as we know, is a very like hush-hush situation. So there's a lot of people who get molested and incest and all these things that they don't talk about, because, I mean, if you really peel back a lot of the religious cults and stuff, there's a lot of stuff happening that nobody talks about because sex is a no-no, you know. Don't talk about that, or, you know, polygamy, you know, that's a huge, huge thing too out there. So it's just, it's a whole thing that, you know, the more there's suppression, the more that there's going to be crazy things going on, because people are not being taught how to be responsible of this energy, so it gets abused. And so that was my whole thing of going to ministerial to learn. Shout out to Dr. Aaron, my mentor, and really taught me about, you know, what's really going on in there, so it could be more of an understanding and a vessel to the women who, you know, they want to be godly, loving, you know, sacred whores. No, I'm kidding.
Why? It is what it is.
You can still be a hoe for your husband. Okay.
It is what it is. I believe in living completely outside the box. I don't like the idea you have to, like you said earlier, living to your truths or standards as opposed to society's.
Yeah, living life by design.
And I think slowly but surely I'm starting to see more of it. Yeah. I'm a big advocate of that, of just being you in every space, every avenue, because one thing I always fight against is the word professional.
Yes.
What people see it as, right? So an example I like to use is like, for whatever reason, I guess there's a lot of context to it, but like they think, you know, suit and tie and all that ties in somebody being professional, right?
Yes.
And I had thought about one day, I was like, you know who else is wearing suits? Slave owners. And they were selling slaves professionally. You know what I mean? So it's like,
very true.
But for whatever reason, they keep this going on, pressing on us throughout generations. Like, oh, you got to be suit and tie. That's what professional is, bro.
Yeah.
Some of those most professional people are probably the most slimiest dudes. They got like they say, bro. You can wear a suit. You can say, grab him by the pussy, and you can become president. That just proves
with 3 baby mamas.
Suit doesn't mean anything.
No.
But that's what where I'm at in life now, where I'm trying to get away from these words that people try to put on you, like
labels.
Yeah, it's labels.
Labels are crazy.
It is, and it's like, bro, you can be professional without looking or talking a certain way.
Yeah,
you know, if you care about people, if you are for the people, you do right. Because somebody can look suited and booted,
still
be at home beating their wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
Out there, multiple wives, whatever the case may be. Damn, girl, you was really in the trenches.
Yeah.
The heels have eyes vibes. But that's kind of cool because you got to experience something us out here, not in that religion or anything, don't know about. You know, we have our views or judgments or whatever based on what we see through society, but you were actually there, so you see the kind of women that need your help.
Yeah. I love how beautiful it is. I still go and visit Utah, but I can definitely feel like the energy shifts as soon as I don't know if you're familiar with like the ley lines in the earth, and they talk about like the different energy points and centers, because I'm get really scientific on you. I'm just a nerd, but there's different points of energy, and you can literally feel the energy of the land there, and it's very confining for me. So I know that there's definitely some work. I know I'm being called to Utah over and over again, but I just know that it's probably going to be different than what they are expecting. So That's why I'm in Vegas.
And when is your next event? When's your next retreat?
Okay, so Sunday I actually have Body Love.
What day? Because this comes out at the end of the month.
Oh, end of the month. Okay, so let me see.
So anything March?
Have March. Okay, March is going to be all about sex appeal. So we're bringing in my sexy Pilates teacher. We call it Sexy Lotties, or sensual sexy Lotties. And we're going to be doing a lot of stuff around like sex appeal and just giving women the opportunity to step back into their space without feeling, again, that guilt and shame of being a sensual woman. I feel like as a mom, it's such an important aspect that kind of gets put off because we're doing everything for everyone else, and then we forget what our nature is. And when we forget what our nature is, we're not showing up in our full element. So with the society, again, like you said, you know, with everybody saying like, oh, you're a mom, but you can't be sexy as a mother. Like, that's not your job. Your job is to feed kids. But then when it gets to the bedroom, it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be sexy here. Now I'm all confused, right? So just giving women the permission to find their zone, to find what feels good to them. And yeah, we'll be doing stuff all March. And
so those are your events you have here in Las Vegas locally.
Yep.
What are the retreats like?
My retreats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my retreats are 4 days.
Okay.
Where we just dive really deep into what it actually means to be an embodied sensual woman. So we go into practices, we go into different things like one of my favorite things is we do mirror work, but we do it nude. And it's so that women can see themselves fully in a space that makes them very uncomfortable, and to see other women. We all have dents. We all have, you know, everybody wants to wear filters. Everybody wants to take Ozempic. Everybody wants to be somebody else, right? And so when you see another like woman that you've seen over and over again and she's naked and she has the same stretch marks or dimples or whatever, you start to say, you know, like, why am I judging myself so deeply? And it's just really a space to just say, hey, let's take off the judgment and let's find out who you are under all of that. Like, who would you be in your fully expressed self? Without the labels, without the, you know, I got to be a professional, right? I love that you brought that up because I would literally show up to gigantic retreat, like 20 women retreat conversations in my robe. I was known to going to like in robes to everything because I was like, no, I'm not going to show up with this perfect picture and the perfect background and this idea. Like, no, okay, yes, it's going to be clean back there. But at the same time, I'm showing up as me, right? I don't need to follow. Yes, I think there's amazing women who are doing amazing work. Like my mentor coach and where I graduated school, Layla Martin, she's incredible, right? But I'm not Layla. I bring something a little bit different. She brings a little something different, and we get to be our fullest expression. Doesn't mean because I come in here in a beautiful robe that I'm any less qualified as somebody who's in, you know, her pantsuit, you know? And I think that there's such a perfectionism. You know, I was a pageant daughter. I did pageants, you know. I was always performing. My mom always kept me in something. But who are we when we don't perform? You know, when we don't have that label? You know, like you said, I can't stand labels. But, you know, I understand distinctions. But, like, labels have gotten so out of hand. Yeah. And now they've become crutches of why we can't be fully expressed in our God image, right? So I think that, yeah, you could go to church and feel God in the Bible, and that's beautiful. Or you can go naked in Sedona and look at the image of God. You know?
I think sometimes some people might not truly be secure with who they are or their messaging, so they need the look of professional, the suit, whatever, to feel confident in what they're doing. And I don't want to make something negative. I mean, if that helps you, it helps you. But it's like... it'd be great to work on yourself to get to a point to where you can walk into that meeting or whatever in your casual attire and still deliver what you're supposed to deliver with confidence. Yep. Because to me, I feel opposite.
Yeah.
When I have to wear a suit or whatever, I'm like, bro.
I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah. And the reason, because there was a time point in my life, it's 2016. I just got out of jail. I was on probation, didn't have a car, was living with my mom. And I would literally be wearing my damn interview outfit, shorts, blazer, all that. And I'd be taking the bus all day to different interviews. Yeah. And it was like, I'm talking about from my mom's house to one interview, 2-hour bus ride.
Oh my God.
Then another interview, maybe a little later, another hour bus drive.
Oh my God.
And this went on for months and months. So that's why I became a fitness coach and all that. I was like, bro, I could wear gym clothes, not have to worry about a suit or anything. I don't know. The last time I wore a suit was at a wedding. And that was like a year and a half ago. Even then, I was kind of like, man, is there a way I can kind of
where can I put on some fitness stuff?
Could I put on some type of fitness
and I think,
jumpsuit?
like, what you wear is such a huge conversation, especially amongst like feminine coaches. Like I will watch feminine coaches and they'll be like, well, you're gonna feel more, if you want to feel more feminine, put on a dress. And I'm like, girl, I've seen a lot of very masculine women in dresses. Like, that does not make you more feminine. Does it make you more appealing? Literally, it's the energy that you bring, right? Like you said, like you can walk into with your fitness stuff on, pitch a gym on anything that you do, and you'll be able to create that. And it doesn't have, they're not like, it's an energy that you understand. It's like an energy that you bring to the table. And that's what I knew. Like when I show up in my robes, I'm like, you guys are going to want this anyway. Like this is something that's going to enhance your women's lives. So I'm not here to perform or tap dance for you. Let's get to work. Like I'm not here to dress for the part. Like, yeah, I always look good no matter where I go. That's what I do for me though. But I mean, in the same sense, like, I always tell this story about the one boob stripper, and they're like, you're never going to get a man if you dress like da da da. And I'm like, really? That's interesting. Because I used to know this girl who literally had one boob and she could fix it. She didn't want to. That was like her luster, and she was stunning. She was a beautiful woman, but she had one boob. And she ended up marrying like some crazy real estate agent, like one of the highest real estate agents in California. But it cracked me up because I was like, like that's not the, high value woman that everybody is trying to fit into, or you don't even know you're going to meet your man in the grocery store and you might not be dressed. I'm like, well, if you go home, right, and you guys live together, which I don't believe in. I haven't lived with my man in the whole time we've been together. But we live life by design. So we live in life in non-attachment world,
Teach his own.
Yeah. I always believe in like, hey, if I have to have you here with me all the time and I'm watching you and playing in private investigator, then is that love? So I didn't meet him, and he's smartest man I know. He reads a book a week. He's knows numbers in the back of his head like anybody I know, but I didn't meet him in my best, I met him pretty messed up. So I think I was on like 9 shots of Jaeger, and I just look at him like, what do you want?
Jaeger, Jesus, you are doing bad.
Oh, I loved Jaeger.
You was down bad, girl. What was you doing?
Jaeger is medicinal, okay?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I don't drink anymore. My liver's had enough. I can't believe I used to mix it with wine and all kinds of other stuff. But I wasn't a drug addict, but I was an alcoholic. But definitely loved Jaeger. That was not a Jaeger bomb, just on the rocks, straight Jaeger. And that was my favorite
Glad you're
drink.
saved now.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like some dangerous shit. I was a drinker, heavy, and Jaeger was one thing I never
Really? It's
never
actually
liked.
quite delicious.
There was like a small point where like Jaeger bombs were the thing to do.
Yeah.
Frat parties and that. But after a while, I'm like, why y'all like this? Yeah, that with Monster?
Yeah.
Like, nah, bro.
Oh, yeah. Horrible
But
for your microbiome.
there was a time where I was like maybe a year period where I was drinking 151.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of liquid cocaine shots?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've done it all. And there used to be a Food for Less here. They're gone now, but Food for Less had like a sale.
Food for Less.
Yeah, it was like buy 4 more.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you buy 4 more, they were like $12 each.
Oh, my God.
So I went and I bought like 10 bottles of Bacardi 151.
Oof.
And this is my mindset. See, I was strategic with my drinking. Tell you why I had an issue. I was like, look, it's 151. Nobody's going to want none of this.
Yeah.
So I could walk around with it without having to worry about people like, give me a shot. And I would give it to some people because they wouldn't know what it was. I'm like, go ahead. Chest burning for hours. And I was a sick individual.
I don't even think it's legal. I don't think they make it anymore. I think they stopped making 151.
And it was crazy. I had like 10 bottles in the freezer and it lasted like a month or two.
Oh,
mixing with Molly.
Oh man,
good life.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I actually, when I started working at Hustler Club, when Stockton sent me to San Francisco, so Deja Vu is a big chain in California, and so they set me up, and I got hired. I was 18 at a 21 and up club, which is like you can't do that. But I remember my boss. He's like, if you drink anything, like you can't work for the company anymore. I'm like, okay. So of course I was a good girl. So my 21st birthday. He was like, okay, now you're 21. I'm going to get you drunk. And he gave me 151 Goldschlager and Jaeger in a shot called a liquid cocaine shot. And I had 2 of those. And I just remember seeing stars.
Damn.
Like, it was the most insane. Yeah, that's when, and I was like, wait, I could do Jaeger, but the other stuff I'm not.
They set you up
151
nice.
is, woof. That's a gasoline. I think it's gasoline.
Yeah, it tastes like it and smells like it.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you would give women who were in a position you were in to help them? Like, what kind of advice would you give yourself before you decided to get out?
Ooh, so many things.
What did the younger you need?
To know that that wasn't my life. Like, in terms of like, it's a part of my life. It's a part of my story. You're never stuck. You're never stuck somewhere. You're never stuck with anybody. And you're worthy. You're so worthy of love, and you have always had love. You just have to recognize it, and it's not going to come from the outside world. It's a love that you're going to have to source within yourself, and it may be hard at times, and there may be difficult moments, but like, everything that you need is inside of you, and just get to that worthiness, get to that love. You know, once it's not about how, right? Because like, you practice the how too much and have all these ways and plans of doing something. And no, it's an understanding of like, I'm open and I'm available to the good things in life, you know, and to just little by little start changing those habits, you know. I think a lot of girls, especially that I have met, I know a lot of amazing ex-dancers, and they're moved on. They have families now.
Yeah.
And we're all like worthy of that. And I don't want, you know, I want them to know that society may X you out, but you're never forgotten. You're never alone. You can totally live a life that you desire.
Beautifully said. I agree with a lot of what you said, of especially when you see ex-workers or whatever, because I lived here a long time and I've seen girls when they first started, some still doing it, which I get sad because I'm like, I know what's happening. You don't know how to get out.
Yeah, it's stuck.
You
get stuck. Yeah.
And I love seeing the ones who used to be and they changed their life. Like, they got a husband, they got kids. Yeah. I had a homie who, when we were like 18, 19, he at some club met one and been married now for X amount of years, beautiful kids. They moved on. She's, I think, a teacher now or something.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes with society, we get so hard and stuck on the whatever it was they did.
Yeah.
If it's something so, not even bad, but if it's something like that, dancer, this, that, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I went
titles.
from,
labels and titles.
Labels and titles, yeah. Like, but if I went from fitness coach to a damn DJ, it's like all good. Like, oh, hey, just in professions. And it's like, I was telling my last guest, like, you got to start telling yourself the full story.
Yeah.
Because we see somebody, we judge, and we create a story in our head.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a dancer. Oh, she don't love herself.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Which it probably could be true, right?
Absolutely.
But what's the end of that story? She don't love herself because her dad wasn't in her life.
Yeah.
She didn't want that. You know what I'm saying? We forget to tell the whole story.
Absolutely.
We just stop at that and then judge the person.
Yep.
And I say that because that's one thing. I've read a book recently and I've just been really practicing myself. Mm-hmm. When somebody triggers me or anything for whatever reason, like I work at a gym and I remember it was like a week of like, I'm like, okay, something's going on because things kept happening, right?
Yeah.
Like I was moving this equipment or something. This other trainer's client started cussing at me and I could hear her. She was talking about me, but like indirectly.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and it's crazy because to me, what I've come to realize about myself is I'm not gonna say I like confrontation, but I do because the heart gets pounding, the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And what I've come to realize is I like to feel.
Yeah.
Because I suppressed my emotions as a kid so long.
Yeah.
I get the feeling, whatever.
Yeah.
And I got it and I had to catch myself. I'm like, okay, this is somebody's client. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see the situation.
Yeah.
Oh, she thinks I did this on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for her, if she would have told herself the story, she would have looked and peeped the scene like, oh, he's doing X, Y, and Z because of this.
Yeah.
And that's another message for everybody out there. Tell yourself the full story in a positive light because you could be 100% wrong until you sit there and ask that person, hey, girl, why are you doing this? And they tell you straight up, oh, you know, I just want to drug tricks. And okay, then you got your answer. But,
which is probably about, I would say, 15%. The other, I mean, I've seen girls paying for cancer medication. I've seen girls going through school. Nurses in schools are like the most, you know, like I've seen so many women that like the woman that could be saving you or, you know, doing surgery on your brain might have been a stripper, might have been a bottle service girl, might have been whatever. So you got to be careful how you judge people.
My personal opinion, it matters to me. Every person that gets into that life needs to watch Players Club.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Players Club.
Because what Diamond said, 4-year hustle plan.
Yep.
She was going there 4 years to pay for school to get out.
Yep.
And that's what you need to do. Have a plan, do the grind until then, and get out.
So my parents told me.
Her cousin got tied up in the life. And you saw what happened. Went to Junior's bachelor party.
Yeah.
And That's one of my favorite movies. I think it's a great movie.
It is a great movie. I think that there's again like the time that it came out, it was such a, I remember being young and being like, huh, that's interesting, and then actually getting into that world.
Were you already in it at the time?
I don't know when year did that movie
It came
come
out like 99, 98 maybe.
No, it was 2004. I graduated high school.
Okay, so you're still
I
younger.
was still young, but I remember watching that movie and being like, huh. And I just, again, now you have like women like Cardi B and things like that have glorified it in a way, and yeah, there's a lot of fun times. I mean, I had a lot of good times. But when you get to a certain point in life, you have to realize that, like, again, that's not your life. That's a stepping stone, or that's, there's something there more for you. And I believe that, strippers, sex workers, they do a lot of transmutation of really dark energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's time for you to go, and go live your life for who you, like you said, save your money. That's the big one. But I wish somebody would have told me that in my first couple of years too. I was like, oh gosh, okay. It's a means to an end, and don't get caught up in the nonsense. It's so easy to, but don't. That's why I also know that, there's other higher powers or God or however anybody wants to put it. But there's plenty of times where, girls didn't come home. Or I knew a girl who committed suicide. She was my locker mate. She just took herself out. There was girls who, were murdered. And
Yeah, you hear about the girl out here?
No.
Not too long ago. It was a Palms, I think.
Oh,
I don't know her name, but she went to see a dude.
Yeah.
I forgot what happened. He ended up strangling her, having sex with her, and then left and said, I forgot what he lied about. They found him and got him. He's in jail. I don't know what his charges were, but it was maybe a year ago now or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so crazy because you look at the comments and stuff. It's just
awful.
Yeah. People going, well, she shouldn't have been doing it. And this, and I'm like, I get it. You can have your opinion on that. At the end of the day, someone's life was taken.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is okay. Like, it's not. Like, that girl, I think she might have kids too.
Yeah. No.
She was trying to provide for her family.
You don't know what.
And this crazy dude, instead of just doing what he said he was going to do, he turned out to be a psycho. Like, something was wrong with him.
Yeah.
For doing that. So you can get turned down and be mad and go leave.
Whatever, yeah.
You don't to kill, bro.
Yeah, that's scary.
You got issues.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be, in the casinos. I know what that life is about, and there's a lot of girls who.
Do you? Don't say by name, but like, do you still have people that are in it? That,
absolutely.
Like, were when you back then, like,
yeah,
they're like 15 years in type shit.
Yeah, I know. I have friends that are still there. I have, a friend who's still in the Playboy type stuff. A lot of women who, I would say 25% of my other clientele are women who are still there, and they know that they can come to me, and I know those are women that I want to give back to when I start working towards nonprofit and things like that. Because again, like, I'll be on Facebook or whatever, and there's, a girl in the corner. It's really bad where I come from. Street walking is a thing out there. And it's never anything loving or understanding. And I always tell people, if you can't see, God in all, you can't see God at all, because that's a child of God. And who am I to look down on that person because of their circumstances, because they truly do not know. I didn't know. I would never. I thought I was going to be a stripper to the day I died. I was like, this is, I met a 70-year-old one in Texas, and I was like, well, she's 70. Maybe I can keep going.
It's crazy. It's wild you said, because we really are like, I don't know how to put this, but we're like, our environments will shape what we think as far as we can go.
Yeah, it's perception.
Because I remember when I was working at Albertsons when I was 16, first job as a courtesy clerk, getting carts and bags. And I'm like, damn, 16. I thought it was good money. It was minimum wage back then, like 07. Yeah. And then there was a dude who was working produce, and I think he made like 16 an hour or something like that. And in that time, that was like my thing. Like,
Ooh.
I was like, ooh, okay. I'm 16, want to turn 18. I could work the overnight crew.
Yeah.
I'll make 12 an hour. And then eventually I could be like so-and-so and make 17 an hour. I bullshit you not. I went back to that same grocery store not too long ago, maybe a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Same dude still at the produce.
Dang.
Yeah. I don't know how much he's making an hour. I'm not trying to judge him, but it was just crazy to see him still.
Yeah,
like, wow.
Get stuck.
He's still here. Yeah. Like, it had to been at least 15 years from the time I saw him last when I was in high school to the time I saw him more recent, however long it goes.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And
oof, yeah.
you can get stuck in based off what your environment is. Like, There's a story I heard
Mhm.
of the flea.
Yep, the flea method.
You know about that? When you put
Yes.
the top on it?
Yeah, when they first put fleas in, they would try to jump out, and then over generations, they stopped trying. They
Yeah.
just got comfortable in the jar.
So fleas, you put fleas in a jar, they'll hop out as far as they can. What they did was they put a top on it, and those fleas stopped. They can only go so high. They took it off, and then the fleas could no longer jump over. They had babies, the babies no longer jumped over.
Yeah.
So that tells the
crazy.
audience because they might not have heard. I heard it
Yeah.
recently, and I was like, what?
It's pretty wild.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, perception, think about it, not to get too deep into the creative process of a human being, but what you believe is true. It's very simple. Like when people try to tell me their reality versus what my reality is, it's like, well, you're the exception. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I just don't believe that what, certain people, labels, titles, you only can have, I had somebody say, well, you shouldn't have children. You used to be a stripper. I said, well, that's weird because I have 3. And they seem like pretty solid kids. I have amazing kids. I could be biased, but they're amazing. But, it's just interesting that you would like come to say that to someone, and it's just wild. So I really believe, like I said, living life in your design. And if you feel limited, go see the possibility. And that's what I try to be every day, is the permission and the possibility that for any woman who's gone through anything, like if I can do it, you definitely can. And don't let somebody tell you, who you are.
Period. Don't let people put their limitations on you.
No.
Because they will. Because they are
Absolutely.
stuck where they're at. They don't want to do extra. They don't think bigger themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to look at you like, no way, girl. You're a dancer. You can't do it. Okay.
You can't have
you.
a high value man.
As we wrap up here, I'm going to ask you, what's a quote you live by and why?
Okay. I live by the quote, know who you are so the world can't tell you who you are. Because, again, people look at me, they hear my story, or they look at me first and they're like, oh, you probably put it all together, da-da-da. And behind the scenes is a lot. It's a whole lot going on. And if I ever would have believed what other people put on me, like, oh, you're never going to have this, you're never going to amount to shit. I mean, I had a baby at 18 years old. I was supposed to be the, valedictorian, going to go be a lawyer, do something amazing, but no, I went to the club and I was condemned the minute I stepped in there. But at the end of the day, it's like, no, if I know who I am and I am secure with who I am, I don't care what anybody else has to say about me, because you can tell me what you think is going to happen, but I know because I create my own life by design. I'm my own creator of my own reality.
Period.
Yeah.
Thank you, Portia, making time, coming down here, sitting down with me, sharing your story, some stuff that I know is going to help the audience, sharing your business and how you're helping women in the community, in the world, not just here in Vegas. I'm going to make sure I tag your Instagram into the details of the YouTube and the Spotify, so they can reach out to you for your yoni steams, your retreats, your pussy coaching. What?
I got to say it.
Yeah. Dude, y'all better chill. Don't try to come for me. I'm respectfully her title, the sacred sexologist. And people need to hear it. It is what it is. They need the help. That's the kind of coach they go to. They need fitness help. They come to a fitness coach.
Yeah.
They go to you for
other things.
That kind of coach. I'm done saying it. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. Black History Month. We out here. I'll leave you with the words similar to what we just touched on. Don't let other people put their limitations on you. They're going to see you trying to shine. They're going to see you try to do great big things and try to shut you down and dim your little light. Nah, your light's big, baby. 2 words. Keep growing. It could have been Pussy Coach, but
I think you like that.